This is Jeff Durkin here with WeAreChangeCT. We're out here at Real Artways in Hartford, Connecticut, where we just wrapped up a screening of the film Dirty Wars and also Q&A. And we're here with the director, Rick Rowley. Rick, thanks for coming out today.
Hey man, thanks for having me on.
So maybe about the film, tell us about the project, how long it took, what was your original idea for getting the project going with Jeremy or anybody else, and where it led up to the premiere today and all across the country as well.
Yeah. So we started this project like 3 years ago, and Jeremy and I, we'd known each other for over a decade. We became really close when we were both covering the Iraq War. And so I had been covering Iraq and Afghanistan as an embedded and unembedded reporter on the ground there, and Jeremy had been covering it as well. And we were both tracking this phenomenon, which was in Afghanistan, the covert war was eclipsing the conventional war. So I'd be embedded with conventional units, with the Marines in Marja, or like the 10th Mountain in Paktia province or whatever, and we would be doing, there'd be no meaningful kinetic action happening at all. We'd be doing, going on presence patrols where our only purpose was try to get shot at so we could return fire, or building schools that people were too afraid to attend. But then we'd hear about at night raids happening, like in which, dozens of Taliban sub-commanders were being killed and captured. So nothing would happen during the day, and at night we'd hear about these things. And the public affairs officers couldn't tell us anything about who was doing these raids. They were all covert, conducted by units that we had no access to. So when we started this film, Jeremy and I thought we were going to make a film just about this process in Afghanistan, just about the war in Afghanistan, how we'd reached a point where more Afghans were being killed and captured by covert units than by the entire 200,000 strong NATO force there. We had no idea how it would spiral out of control. I mean, so we started the film going around talking to Afghan victims of U.S. night raids. I never thought when we walked into Gardez that this story would take us to Mogadishu or to Yemen. And I certainly didn't imagine when we started talking to Afghan victims of these forces that we'd end the film talking to American citizens targeted by the same units.
Going through it all the different journeys across different countries around the world, what was the one story that stuck out to you in general? I know there seemed like a lot when people see the film. What was one thing that stuck out to you, or a bunch of them, if you could point to one of them?
Well, just the first revelation is the revelation that kind of spun us off. Spun us onto this whole trip to begin with was the night raid that happened in Gardez. So we first heard about it through U.S. military press releases, where they said a night raid happened. It was a mixed Afghan-U.S. force that conducted it, and they stumbled on a Taliban tribal honor killing, where these two fathers had killed their own pregnant daughters. The soldiers arrived too late to save the daughters, but they killed the fathers, who were Taliban commanders, captured some more people for questioning, and then sort of disappeared. When we went in, we found out this was absolutely not the case, that in fact they were all civilians, and that the women hadn't been killed by their own fathers, had been executed by the Americans, and then who then tried to cover it up. And it was disclosed or revealed over the course of the investigation that the soldiers dug the bullets out of the bodies of the women. So soldiers dug the bullets out of these pregnant women's bodies in order to blame their own fathers for their killing. It was just so obscene on its surface, and raised the question, what are you trying to cover up? What is so important that you would go to these obscene lengths to cover it up? This long investigation happens. This great reporter in Afghanistan, Jerome Starkey, is also pushing this issue. And finally, we reach a point where the U.S. government retracts its story and says, okay, we admit our story is wrong. We lied. That in fact, we killed the women, and that none of these guys were actually Taliban. We think our story is over, like the case is closed, but we had a photograph of an American officer coming in to apologize to the family for the killing, and it's this Navy admiral whose name we didn't know at the time, Admiral William McRaven. And that photo was supposed to end our investigation, but it began a whole new one, because this was a guy who wasn't part of NATO's conventional command. He wasn't any part of the conventional force in Afghanistan. He was part of the president's elite force that is operating all over the world now, outside of the conventional chain of command, responsible directly to the White House.
Going through the different screenings that just came out a while ago, the film, what has the response been, or the turnout for people from conversations that you've had with people? What's the response been overall in general for people out there?
It's been really amazing. I mean, a film, the IFC, we have a great distributor. IFC Sundance Selects picked up this film, and they put it in, by the end of the run, it's going to be in almost 100 theaters, probably, around the country. So, 3 years ago, there was no discussion of the covert war on terror in the mainstream at all. I mean, it existed on the fringes, and public radio or whatever, or progressive print outlets, and now it's in downtown theaters around the country, and that's truly amazing to us. I mean, we never expected this kind of wide release.
So for people out there, just wrap it up here quick, where can they find a screening in their area, if they could organize one themselves, to definitely get the word out about this? Because we've both seen it here, and we highly and definitely encourage people to check it out, and really appreciate your good work in getting this story out there. So where can people find it? Where can they organize events to show the film?
If you go to dirtywars.org, all the screenings and theaters that it's out in are listed, and there's also contact information to organize your own screening.
That we don't need the drones. The drones actually are doing detrimental, disastrous, horrifying effects all over the world. I mean, in fact, I think that they're worse because they are, one, detaching people from warfare on the ground, two, they're causing more terrorism.
And it's also motivated by this extreme secrecy surrounding the drone program, where the Obama administration won't even reveal the legal memoranda that purports to define this power, which is a form of keeping a regime of secret laws.